Hi everyone, my name is Micah McLean and you're watching Micah McLean Talks. Today you're watching my interview with Rebecca Cruz, the wife of Terry Crews, and they're actually one of the most powerful couples in Hollywood. Terry Crews, her husband, was named on the Times 100 list in 2017 for the most influential people in the world, and his story came to light when he talked about his sexual assault experience with a Hollywood executive. It is powerful to be able to tell her story, talk about their marriage, talk about everything that they've gone through as a couple, and I hope that it inspires many couples in the UK, the US, and all the other territories that watch this podcast. I really hope you will enjoy this interview. Please remember to subscribe to this channel and engage with the content. Thank you. Good afternoon, Rebecca. Thank you so much for coming on. It is an absolute honor to have you on the platform.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. And my apologies for the delay in response. I was without an assistant for a period of time and had to hire a relative to work remotely and answer my emails. So I'm glad we were able to connect.
Thank you so much. You are the wife of Terry Crews, who is one of the most well-known actors in Hollywood at the moment. In addition to that, you're also a producer. You executive produced The Family Cruise that was very popular on BET and MTV. You're a talented singer going under the name of Regina, is it Madre?
Yes.
Regina Madre. Your single reaching for the top, 300,000 views on YouTube. In addition to that, you also do a lot of things ministry based and have worked with likes of Devon Franklin and others. So thank you so much for coming onto the platform.
My pleasure, my extreme pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So the first question I'd like to ask you is that you are a very talented singer, songwriter, and performer. And you've been developing these gifts since the age of 9. So how did you develop your passion for music?
Well, you know, my parents were musicians. My father was a preacher's kid who grew up playing in church, and he played multiple instruments. And I just think they exposed me to music very young. So they played a lot of albums in the house. And I think I was probably 6 years old when I started plunking out notes on a piano. And someone said, we need to get her a piano, you know, and so it kind of started there, and I started taking music lessons. And then as I got closer into my teens, I started wanting to play the music on the radio instead of the classical music. So I started learning to play by ear, pop music, R&B, playing in church. You know, I played a lot in church as a teen, and just developed from there all the way through high school and college and into my adulthood.
Thank you so much for that answer. And I was also reading your book, Stronger Together, where your audio book, where I was listening to it. And you were talking about some of your life experiences. Now, one of the life experiences that really hit me was that you were a victim of abuse. You were abused by your stepfather, Jack. And this is something that affects lots of young people, I know, in the UK and the US, so, and adults even. So the question I'd like to ask you is, how can a young person or adult identify abuse and get help quickly?
Wow. You know, I grew up in a different generation, Micah, where certainly I could have probably spoken to a school counselor or whatever the case, but the idea at the time is that you kept family business in the family, you know. And I can remember a couple of occasions that I spoke to people about my stepdad, and there was kind of a response that, hey, you don't go tell everybody what's going on in your family. To some degree, I was rescued from that situation because my mother did file for divorce 6 years into the marriage. And so, you know, I did get out of it. And I actually did continue to some degree to have at least conversations periodically with my stepfather. And he went in and out of sobriety. He was an alcoholic. And I will say that even in his later years, he tried to make some amends. You know, the 12 steps includes making amends to those you've hurt. And there were many times that my stepdad would call me and apologize to me for things he said or did that he remembered. So by the time I was probably about 17 is when I knew that I personally gave my life to Christ. And the first thing that I felt God really dealing with me to do was to forgive my dad. And so it was a process. And I did. I forgave him. And to the point where when I got married, he was at my wedding and gave me away at my wedding. And some members of my family said, "Why did you invite him?" I said, "He's the only dad I have. You know, my father, my biological father, is in heaven." And so though it wasn't a perfect relationship, there were some good things that my stepfather did for me, to be honest. He was a musician. He's a big part of the reason that I had music lessons and got exposed to really great artistry. He was a jazz musician, but he did abuse us, and that's true. And people that are hurting hurt other people. And he was hurt himself, and he did not manage his addiction well, and he had an anger problem. So, and there were some other things that were, borderline sexual abuse, where there were boundaries crossed because of alcohol. And I don't like to talk about that a lot, except to say that you do have to find a way to get your peace, you know, especially I think as a young person, depending on the situation, it might be hard to get out of the home. You know, I don't know. Sometimes social services pulls the kid out, and sometimes, you know, the cure is worse than the cause. But I want to say that for me, my God relationship helped me deal with him. And I do think even it was an answer to prayer that they got divorced, because I began to pray like, "God, get me out of this or I'm going to kill him," you know. And not too long after that, my mother told him he had to go, you know, because he was kind of ruining our happiness. And that did preserve us. I really think it did. So I hope that's not a too convoluted of an answer, but I would say to young people today, you have to resolve within yourself what you're willing to go through. If your situation is extremely violent, or you're being repeatedly sexually abused, you absolutely, I mean, even if it's happened once, but sometimes that's hard, because there are kids who tell the mother and the mother doesn't believe them. And so now you're going to have to leave your mama, leave your dad. I mean, you know, it's a hard thing to face. And absolutely, you have to protect yourself, you know. And one of the ways we protected ourselves is we fought back too. There was a moment where we all were a little sick and tired of him. And we were just little, like 12, 11, and 10. And we just like rose up and we started swinging at him. And he kind of backed up like, "Oh, I guess they don't want a spanking," you know. So, you know, parents, I don't know how to say this. You know, I spanked my children, right? Mm-hmm. And I have one daughter who probably was the least to ever get a spanking or a swat. And she swears that I was, you know, that I was the worst, you know. And I always go, "No, your older sister got spanked more than you, you know." And she says, "Yes, but I was a tender child and you should have never swatted me." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm sorry." You know, I'm not making light of abuse, but I also think that some parents don't think they're abusing their kid. You know, they feel like, "I'm disciplining you. You know, you're being bad, or you're not doing what I tell you. And this is what you need. You need a spanking, or you need a time, whatever." You know, and so feelings have really changed around that issue in the last 20 years, you know. Although I think some of these kids need a swat. Maybe edit that. I don't know. But I know I'm laughing about a subject that's very serious, but I really was able to see both my mom and my dad, because there were things I held against my mom too. And as an adult, I'm able to see my parents differently, and have some mercy for things they did that at the time I'm like, you're just a horrible person. And well, is that what they meant to be? Maybe not, you know?
Yeah.
So I hope that's a decent answer.
Brilliant answer. Thank you. And just reading through your book, I just learned about the strength of both yourself and Terry. And another thing that I think will be relevant to many people over in the UK is you talked about your experiences with regards to racism as a biracial woman.
Yeah.
What do you believe are the reasons why those from mixed backgrounds can sometimes struggle with their identity?
Well, I think it has to do with how you're brought up and where you're brought up. Yeah. For one, my family was very unusual in 1965. I had a white dad and a black mother. So not only did I not see interracial couples in my city, but the rare occasions I did, it was the other way around. You know, the mother was white and the dad was black. And so there just was not a template at all for what we experienced. We were definitely treated differently. There are some ways we were outcast by both groups of people. And then by the time, I would say I had a wide array of friends and experiences because my parents taught us to not judge people by their color. You know, it was the 60s, you know, peace, love, we're one, you know, make love, not war. I mean, that was my parents' generation. So though they taught us all of that, I don't know. I was more, and then I'm very fair and I had blonde hair as a kid. So I don't know. I just was a little bit of a misfit no matter where you stuck me, you know. And as a younger child, the community, you know, I had, like I said, all kinds of friends. And even as a teenager, I had all kinds of friends. But there was that element, you know, where sometimes Black folks were like, who's this white girl? Why is she at our party? You know, and then there were white people who were quietly racist, you know, who say things, you know, behind your back. They're nice in your face, but they say things behind your back. And I experienced that even in a job situation where some ladies I worked with did not know I was part Black. And they're saying everything they think in my presence. And I'm like, ooh, you know, I need to write a book on this because the corporate and the cultural bias was very real, very prominent. And so I don't know. I don't know. I have thoughts on this that are likely to make people angry, but I think on the whole, we have a long way to go in regards of seeing people through the eyes of faith, seeing them through the eyes of understanding that human qualities are universal.
Yeah.
And though we have these beautiful differences culturally, and they're all beautiful differences, you know, we can appreciate and respect each other's differences. My town was a mixture of cultures, you know, Hungarian, Mexican, Polish, Greek, as well as Black and white people, and I think some Puerto Ricans as well. And so we all got along. And then when I went off to college, it's mostly white people. So there I was in another kind of microcosm where this doesn't look like what I grew up in, you know. So I tried to make friends based on my common interests. You know, I was a theater major. I was a Christian at that time, so I was involved in campus ministry, which, you know, was pretty broad. And so I just kind of always thought of myself as my own species, if that makes sense. Now, I say in the book that I call myself a Black woman, and that's true in the sense that my mother is Black. So when you look at your mother, you see yourself, you know? So I've never thought of myself as not Black, but people look at me and don't think of me as Black.
Yeah.
So there's a difference in the way I perceive myself and others perceive me. There are like blogs on the internet with people going, oh, Terry Crews's wife is white, you know? And I'm all like, why does it still matter today? Jesus, I don't know. But I understand it. I understand it because I have daughters who are brown and who feel rejected by Black men. They feel like, why aren't we good enough? You know, why are they always marrying something else? And I go, you know, there's an issue there that they're experiencing in their world. So I don't disregard that, you know, at all. I have empathy for it. And I jokingly tell them, well, look at your family. You know, your mother is this and your dad. And then my first grandbaby is part Mexican. So I just said, we're just going to all be, you know, cosmopolitan. And that's the way God's kingdom is anyway, you know. And that's what I know this is controversial, but I'm a child of God first.
Yeah.
You know, though I love the culture I come from. My city was a Black city. You know, I grew up on Roger and Prince and soul food and all those things, you know, so I'm culturally, that's a part of me, you know, though people would not necessarily look at me and think that.
That was just amazing just to hear about your experiences. And even on the note of your husband, I was listening to your interview with E! News and pictures because Terry almost got stuck in the friend zone. But one thing that I hear a lot from my guy friends is that I really like this girl, but for some reason I can't seem to get out of the friend zone. So what advice would you give to all of those men who just keep seeming to find themselves in the friend zone?
I would say this is very cliche, I'm sure, but I would say you have to pray, because my thoughts about the kind of guy that I wanted to marry was not Terry. Okay, I'm just being honest. I abhorred the idea of marrying like an athlete, like a jock or something. Like, no, thank you. I wouldn't want to be that girl or that, you know, girlfriend waiting for the guy to finally marry her. And this, I'm like, nah, I need a guy who loves God, who's just stable, wants a family, you know. And I'll be honest, my openness to that was because I had been in relationships with the pretty boy, the playboy, the, you know, thug. I had one little thug, you know, in high school that I liked. So I was over the superficiality. You understand? I was over, he has to be 6 foot this and that. I was over that because I had tried all that. And I just wanted a good person, you know. So Terry found me in a place where I just needed a good guy. And he was that. He really was. So I'd say to your guy friends who are stuck in the zone to pray for the right girl.
Yeah.
Because if you're chasing the girl who's, you know, got maybe ulterior motives, or her purpose isn't exactly clear, where she's going in life, or she's cute, but she can't pay her bills, you know. I think men, if I could say this, men, you have to get into the thoughtful characterization of what is the character of the woman you want, you know, not just is she pretty, is she built, you know, is she gonna go with me on my dream? You have to look for qualities that are inherent in the soul first. You just really do. And so sometimes when we're stuck on someone who's not feeling us, sometimes we're stuck on something that's a little superficial, you know. We can be. And not hating on them brothers, because God made women beautiful and he made you with eyes to see. So I'm not hating on the beauty aspect, but understanding there's more to it than that. And to prayerfully think about the kind of things you want in a woman. and then make that list. I made a list. I made a list, and I asked for that. And when I saw it, I kind of went, "Are you sure? Are you sure, God, that's him?" And I felt overwhelmingly that kind of, I think that's the guy. And we took a leap of faith, and we're still here. So
Thank you so much for that. And I wanted to also discuss the trials that you've had in marriage, not so much the trial itself, but how you overcome these difficulties to become the Hollywood power couple you are today.
Well, first of all, we like to think we're a power couple for Jesus. So
Yeah.
in some sense, everybody goes through trials. We're not the first couple to have some of those same issues in our marriage. I know people who are broke, busted, disgusted, going through that same thing. So for me, the question is, how are you going to deal with anything in life? To me, is a resounding saying yes to faith, saying yes to the wisdom that can come from people who've already gone where you're going. My husband and I did not get married loosely, although we look back and go, maybe we should have waited. We went through counseling, which was very wise because it showed us where there were weaknesses. It showed us a lot of things about how we were very well suited too, because we had similar goals. And then I think that the trials, you have to be willing. You have to be willing to say, this is wrong. What I did was wrong. Or or both of you usually have to do that, no matter what, even if one person was more egregious than the other per se. You have to own up to your faults. And you have to also forgive. Because, King David was a man just like us. He was a good man. He loved God. He was blessed by God. He was put in a high position. And then he screwed up. And we make light of that, but he really screwed up. And he left a legacy that his children never, got over fighting and killing each other almost till the day he died. So there was a lot that he reaped from that bad decision. But he still was favored by God. He still lived out his life. He died at a good old age. He had a great legacy aside from that issue and some of the things it brought. So, life is this mixture of good and bad. And that's why I guess, Jesus said 70 times 7, people aren't perfect. People are going to make mistakes. They're going to hurt you. They're going to intentionally hurt you. And for the most part, you have to say, well, either I'm wrong to trust another human. I'm going to live in a hole in the wall the rest of my life. Or you're going to get out there and dare to say, well, I'm going to take my shot with someone and hope we can fix whatever we broke in the process. And, and also don't go into marriage. I really want to say this. Don't go into marriage with the mindset that you're going to live single. People do this. I see people do this. They get a husband or a wife and they think they're going to not have to change. And no, honey, the Bible says the two become one. That means there's a merging of your life. And you can't expect your husband to be perfect, but nor should you think he's not going to ever fail you. You can't go in with this perfect Cinderella thing, but nor should you go in like browbeating and distrustful and, gang, like just beating up on your man and expecting them to fail you. You know what I'm saying? This kind of very negative, I won't use the term we use in the States, but men are no good. There's some less kind ways to say that, right? You can't go in with a negative expectation because then you're going to get exactly what you expect, because you're going to browbeat and push the person and then they're going to pull away from you. And I think that's a lot of what we're seeing as well. A lot of negative belief systems that are playing out in the public and playing out. And then you go, oh, I don't know why they turned out like that. Well, you spoke it, you know, you prophesied it, you know, and the same, you know, the other way around. Sometimes men aren't as negative, but they're controlling and they're jealous, you know, and then they wonder why you run away because they're trying to hold you like a bird in a cage. You can't be jealous and controlling, and you can't be negative, and you can't be, you know, fighting all the time for control. There just has to be a sense of unity. You play your part, I'll play my part. We'll run together. And if those parts change, we talk about it. We don't compete with each other in those roles. Sorry, that's my thought. I'm rambling, but I come off the cuff because I feel like, I don't know, I feel like the Spirit leads me in different directions sometimes. And I felt like what I just said needed to be heard by some people who are probably going to watch this.
Definitely. I mean, I know lots of people in my life who, even when they're dating at the dating stage and they're maybe like with a girlfriend or a boyfriend, they still want to like meet up with other people on their own and stuff. And it's like, I'm trying to advise them. I'm saying it's not a good idea, because if you're doing this as when you're dating, what do you think you're going to do when you're married? There has to be a point where you say, okay, I'm with this person,
right?
We're kissing each other. It's got to be very transparent and clear. So what you're saying is very sound in every way.
Yes. Well, yeah, it's practice, because if you've had a habit of not being truthful and exclusive and all those things, marriage won't solve that. That's a character development that you have to grow through and make a choice. And we're very, I don't mean to sound like an old fogey, but I'm almost aghast at the way young people date today. You know, nobody wants to be committed. And I'm always like, situationship? I've never heard of such a thing. If you're not into me, bye. You know, I'm just like, that's how we were taught, you know, as ladies. Don't tolerate what you don't want to live with, you know. And if you're not the only one, if that's not what you want, then you just bounce. You be by yourself rather than tolerate something you don't think is fair. And yeah, it hurts me to say this. We are at a crisis point, I think, with our young people, and everyone's afraid. Everyone's afraid to get married. I was in a room full of ladies, and they're all talking about do I call him my man friend? Do I call him my boyfriend? And I thought, what in the world? Because back in the day, you got to prove, dude, you got to prove me that you want me. And if you don't, then I'm perfectly fine over there, you know, and that's a hard thing too, you know.
Thank you so much.
Like, don't get me in trouble.
Right.
No, and
I don't know you.
You're married to someone who is a visionary. He's a risk taker.
Yeah.
I used to say all the time, my husband jumps off the cliff. Thank God I measure the drop. Because it's him and me and the 5 kids. Wow! Over the edge.
Yes.
You know, and we have landed on our heads. Not everything we've attempted has succeeded, you know, and I'm going, did you count the cost of that investment? Did you look at all the specs and the stats? You know, I'm all about calculated risk.
Yes.
But in my husband's defense, with all his cliff diving, when he succeeds big.
Yes.
And so I've had to learn from that. I've had to learn to be less chicken about my own pursuits, because yes, he failed hard several times. Got back up, tried again, or tried another thing. But the things he succeeded at took off like crazy.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, Jesus, here we go. Take the wheel. Yes.
And you are just inspirational in so many ways, because you actually went through a traumatic battle with breast cancer, which you survived and overcame. And not only that, you were awarded by the NFL Wives Association for your bravery and courage during that time. So
yes, well, Sorry, go ahead.
So my question to you is, what advice would you give to someone that is battling breast cancer or going through a traumatic experience?
Mm. Well, on the cancer issue, there are some wonderful doctors and clinics out here now. We're beating even stage 4 cancer with people these days. So have hope, first of all, if you've been given a diagnosis. Don't put your faith on the back, put your faith on the front. If you ain't been to church and said a prayer, I suggest you start, because there are some things that you just can't go through alone. I was guided, in my opinion, to go ahead and do the surgeries and do what I had to do, and then to trust for the rest. And so far, I'm doing great. I don't advise women to just go to anybody. Look up the best people, see what support is there, because often, especially Black women, are diagnosed late. And that's why the survival, your survival is dependent on the early catch. Okay. So if I can encourage you to take those free screenings when they come through your town, or if there's a mobile bus, or, whether you're insured or not, catching stuff early really is important. And in terms of the fear, and, you have to get your thoughts in a positive direction. You have to hold on to life. You have to hold on to faith. You have to believe you're going to make it. And whatever helps you believe that is going to mentally and physically strengthen you to go through that battle. It's also important not to let fear and thoughts, like, don't go on the internet and look up all the worst case, everybody that died from it. Don't do that. As much as, we want to know about things, you can know too much. And all of that knowledge can benefit you if it's the right kind of knowledge. And surround yourself with positive people who are going to stand and believe, not look at you and go, "Oh, you look worse, girl."
Yeah.
You have to be strengthened, with all might in your inner man to stand through the fear, stand through the doubt. I went into my surgery singing. I had a worship tape on, or not a tape, but on my phone, and I'm in the car singing. I'm at the hospital singing, and I woke up like, "Hey, what's good?" And the doctor's like, "I have great news, Mrs. Cruz. Your cancer was all located in the one area. There was nothing spread. Your lymphs, the lymph glands, all that were clean. That's what they look for, to see if it's gone through the body." And I said, "Thank you, Jesus." I woke up with a good report, and one that I asked for, and I believed, and I just did my best to be happy on the inside that I caught it, and be thankful. Be thankful. And I offer that to ladies out there, and especially if you're going through it even like a second time. People sometimes have a reoccurrence. Don't give up. I've seen people beat stuff that came back, and even came back worse, and I've seen them beat it. So you have to be a warrior. You have to make a decision not to just give up in your heart.
Thank you so much for that, and just for being so open about all your life experience. I know it's going to help a ton of people in the UK for sure. So thank you.
My pleasure, Micah. Thank you. I can talk all day because I've been alive a long time, but thank you so much, and I hope that people listening are inspired and encouraged. We're not experts. When you go through life, you try some things, and certainly there's wisdom that's older than us. But we are hopeful that our experiences, our life experiences, are food for thought and hopefully inspiration for other people.
Definitely. And you're talented in so many ways. You're not just a singer, songwriter, and performer, but you're also an executive producer, and you played a part in a very popular reality TV series, The Family Cruise. I actually
Yeah.
watched it when I was a teenager on BET when they were streaming it over in the UK. I enjoyed it so much. But what are some of the challenges of being a reality TV star?
Hmm. Well, one is that I had never done TV before. My background in acting had been mostly with theater.
Yeah.
So it was a very frightening thought for me. I'll be perfectly honest. When we were approached, I thought, oh, no way. No way am I going to let a camera in my house. And I
Mm,
had seen other people go through reality TV and end their marriage or something horribly, equally horrible. And I thought to myself, why would I do this?
mhm,
But as I sat and talked to my husband, he's like, honey, you were an actress back in the day and you feel like you didn't get your shot. You had your babies. Well, maybe this is a shot for you.
mhm,
And I said, I never thought of it like that. And I started to realize that, maybe some opportunities would come for me through doing this. And it really did.
mhm,
Um, the producer part was just because we produced all those children. And so I had to have a say in what they were going to show
mhm,
regarding our kids.
mhm,
And they were very gracious to us. The network was more than happy to give us the kind of production team
mhm,
um, who cared about our kids and were thoughtful and positive. They wanted our show to be happy. They wanted us to be a happy Black family. So though we had some arguments on set, there weren't attempts on the part of the network to just uh, aggravate or reveal or just make us look bad. Um, they were very thoughtful of what we wanted the show to be. And not to say it was phony, you know, because what you see mostly was what you got with us. But overall, my thoughts on it were that it was a great opportunity for us to minister, for
mhm,
us to see if we like showbiz as a family, which we do. We've got two more kids who are actors now, and one who's going to college to be a screenwriter, and so another one who's studying music.
mhm.
So it seems that we launched a family business doing the family cruise. And I'm very thoughtful of the fact that our kids got to experience something that not a lot of families do, and that's working together, which was very great. So I'm overall grateful for that experience and thought it was going to just mess up, be gravely invasive. But I didn't find that to be true. Other than a few hecklers and moles that came on the internet and badmouthed us, for the most part, we had very loyal and wonderful fans who still talk about it. And it's a great kind of destiny legacy that we've left behind that we're proud of.
Definitely. And can I ask for all of those? I know it was very popular, especially in the UK. Why did it end after 2 seasons? Because it's probably something that a lot of people would want to know. Did you decide to end it or?
You know what? We did, but it wasn't because we weren't having fun. I
Mm,
think it was simply a logistics issue. My son was getting a little bigger and we were about to put him in school. And then out of the blue, husband was awarded a TV show where he was given a lead role. It was called Are We There Yet?
yeah.
And so we had to suddenly up and move and shoot the show in a style that was not conducive to keeping the reality show. In other words, we didn't have breaks. Whereas like the summer was when we would shoot Family Cruise, when the kids were off school, we'd
Mm,
take like the 12 weeks and shoot it, right? We
yeah.
did not have any breaks where we could do both.
Mm,
So it was kind of, just interrupted by the workflow that my husband was trying to generate more work, because the Family Cruise was not like a 22 episode, like a long, he had to take some other work, you know what I mean? So I was happy we got to do it, but yeah, not sure we could have continued after we moved on to the other projects. So, um, sorry guys, we had fun while it lasted.
Thank you so much. And both you and your husband have featured on some of the biggest platforms globally. For example, the Oprah Winfrey Network, Dr. Phil, Access Hollywood, the Today Show. How do you balance your celebrity statuses with your roles as spouses, parents, and grandparents?
Mm. Well, I would say your needs change. Okay. Back when the show was on, we had very small children. So I didn't work a whole lot. And dad did all the bringing home the bacon, frying it up in the pan, you know. And so I had a pretty traditional wife mom role at the time. Now I'm not in that position. All my kids are almost grown up. So there's a shift there for me where we're a little more like a dual income household now. And then I would say we just balanced it by kind of playing our parts. You know, I knew that with entertainment, he would be gone.
Mhm.
So I didn't like resent that I was the only one handling the children. I kind of knew that was my role, you know. And if I wanted to go out and work full time and try to do that, I thought I would be missing some of those formative years for my kids. So I made a decision to be that kind of mom. So as far as that goes, we've just always had to adjust, you know. And now my husband is doing some, you know, projects that allow him to be a lot more present. So now he's home a lot more. You know, he's working quite a bit, but he's home more because he's shooting here in LA. And so that has caused us to have more time together now that we're older and the kids are gone. So we're kind of having more fun, traveling more. So I think it's allowable to shift the way you're doing the marriage. You know, people say you have to maybe renegotiate. You know, you renegotiate how you're managing your time, your money. And we're still very much in love with each other. So we enjoy hanging out, but we also enjoy our time apart, you know. So each new season, I think, brings a perspective that allows you to be gracious to each other with what the family as a whole is asking. And then what is the marriage going to look like as it evolves? And I think you have to ask yourself those timely and important questions, sometimes with the therapist, and talk about it, and then go on from there. So, you know, when you come into this business, you come into it hoping you'll be successful, but you don't always know. You know, you have a dream. My husband's dream took off in a way he didn't see coming. You know, he kind of wanted to do some other things, and acting is what became the door for him. And so we all just had to kind of live in the now, you know, flow with the now. What is the door that's open to us now? And go through it. Yeah. And that ability, in my opinion, has allowed us to shift and grow and not grow apart. So
thank you so much. And I'm going to combine the last two questions together. Your song Reaching for the Top, under the name which you perform on, which is Regina Marjorie, has achieved 300,000 views on YouTube. What do you attribute its success to, and what can we look out for in 2022, 2022?
Wow. I really love that song. It's one of my favorite songs on the record. I say we got the views on that mostly through the smart editing choices of my producer and director. Her name is, oh my God. Why am I losing her name? Piper Ferguson. Piper
Yeah.
Ferguson has done 2 or 3 videos for me, photo shoots. She has great creativity, and we collaborated on that idea for the 70s roller disco. We shot it in one night, overnight at the roller disco here in Burbank. And Terry is the one who said he wanted to play the villain. So we just thought it was a great story, a great kind of feminist era empowerment song.
Yeah.
And so I think people kind of liked seeing us on the screen together, and just thought it was funny and liked the song. So we also did some radio with that song. We charted well with the radio on that. And those demographics, I don't know. I think you have to put the right links or right hashtags in there. And we just had a great success with people watching that video. I was astonished, actually, because I haven't had any other videos go that big. And I'm just grateful. I'm grateful. I'm sure it was a combination of things, both the storytelling, the likable kind of quality of the song, and just good marketing. Thank God. Marketing is everything. You can have a great song and nobody hears it. It's like, oh, great. What do I do? But yeah, we really we put a lot of heart and soul into that song and into that project, and we're thankful that people liked it and replayed it. And yeah, so that's a whole new life for me, that YouTube audience. I know it's been around a long time, but people my age are like, YouTube? Who watches YouTube? Everybody.
Thank you so much. And what can we expect in 2022, 2023 in terms of releases?
Well, I'm launching a clothing line.
Okay.
I have a website up, RebeccaCruz.com. It's a high-end luxury apparel, kind of a limited collection I created for women who are in need of suits and tuxes. So check me out on RebeccaCruz.com. We launched our apparel in December of last year with Saks Fifth Avenue, and we're growing that brand. Music is on the back burner a little bit, but not entirely. We are, I'll say this, I'm in the studio.
Yeah.
But whether it's going to be a full project or just some singles, I'm thinking maybe an EP, maybe 4 or 5 songs on the EP, and just put that out. So thoughts and prayers, I'm still conceiving it. And then, Dad is working on AGT, still doing that and having great success there. And the kids are working. My daughter and my son were shooting things for Nickelodeon, working on little projects for Nickelodeon videos. And then I still kind of accompany my almost adult son to work, which is where we have to go today, actually. He's still doing some things for his side hustle show, which, though it did not get renewed, he is still beloved at the company. So they are including him in several projects for the upcoming year through December. So Isaiah and I are off to set today. And so I'm still momager-ing. And just enjoying that part of my life as well, because this will be my last baby at home. So mommy still has plenty of time to make more music and make more clothes and do her own thing. So I want to make sure that I cherish this time that I have with Isaiah. So fingers crossed for Isaiah. He's got a lot of hopes and dreams, and he's getting some great open doors. So thank you for asking.
It's amazing. And it's just been so fantastic interviewing you. I've thoroughly enjoyed interviewing you. Just your story, your positivity. It's just amazing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Micah. It's my pleasure. And I consider it an honor. We were just in London, actually. We were there the day of the Queen's funeral. We came for a memorial for Jamal Edwards, who was very involved. Terry was involved with Jamal, and had a lovely time with his mom, Brenda, and the family, and celebrating his life. And just so happened we were there for the Queen's, celebration. And so we felt very in touch and in commonality with the people of the UK that week we were there. So it feels almost serendipitous that I'm talking to you today. And thank you for having me, Micah. It's a tremendous honor. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Me too. I will definitely hopefully speak to you in the future. And yeah, for now, bye. But thank you again so much for coming in.
My pleasure, sir. Thank you so much. Let me know when it goes up and we'll post it, okay?
Thank you so much.
All righty. Have a great day.
Okay, now this just doesn't make any sense. I mean, look, the record's okay. What you don't understand is that women want to hear love songs. Yeah, songs that make them think about men and falling in love. Not this. It's gonna give the wrong impression. Next thing you know, you gonna have a woman thinking she can actually be president. Ain't that a scary thought? Whoa, no. You could just leave this here. Look, I did pay for it after all.
Look, you give me my song and you can let me go. No strings attached.
Oh, well now that things aren't professional, how about you and I get a little dinner, some cocktails? Look like you need to loosen up.
I'll go out with you. Meet me at Moonlight Rollerway tonight.
Goodness gracious! Whoa! Boy, you got it. You know you got this.
I'm climbing, reaching for the stars. Gonna make my dreams come true, even if I have to start all over, all over, all over.
on back, girl. I heard something else. The remix is what I heard. This right here banging.